Teal dear. We do a lot of feminism on this channel. Now let's look at some of the insanity of MGTOW, shall we? I'm sure this'll stir up some controversy. Let us go on.
Hello everyone, Sexy MGTOW here. I didn't plan to do a second video today, but I got a reply to a comment on the video that I linked to in my video about women are sick, let's laugh at them. I got a reply to that from a woman, and she didn't understand, and I didn't expect her to, and I didn't even consider it. She didn't understand that I meant what I said about women needing to learn how to be human. Or at least how to act like human.
I sure hope you're now going to give a definition of what you consider to be a human being, because last time I checked, female humans were human. You know, the clue is in the name.
And this goes back to my women are sick video. And I want something to be clear before I begin. Listen to my inflection of my voice here. This is not something I'm happy about. This is not something I take pleasure in sharing with you. It is simply what I have come to a conclusion on, based on my experiences, based on what I've read, what I've watched, what I've seen, so on and so forth. And what I've seen is that women are certainly not capable of being humans.
Well, a basic knowledge of anthropology would entirely disagree with you, but I do believe in hearing everyone out, so let's keep going and see where you take this.
They can act like humans. They can perform like humans, but I do not think that they can honestly be humans.
Whoa, sorry, something really weird happened to the video there. It's okay, I think I fixed it, though. By all means, do carry on.
So what do I mean by this? And again, be aware this is unscripted. So what do I mean by them being unable to be humans? What I mean is, if we leave women to their own devices, like we have, look at what they do. They choose extinction, right? They commit extinction via the act of driving away men.
So how exactly do women choose extinction? I mean, you say that they drive away men, but seeing as many countries are seeing record-high birth rates, and that this trend of population growth seems to be a worldwide phenomenon, that to me implies a lot more sexual relationships are happening, and that can't happen if women are universally driving men away. And if you're railing against this modern phenomenon of the hookup culture, then I would point out to you that even that is still not driving men away. Women still very much want men in their lives. They may simply want them for different reasons at different times in their lives, which is completely their right as an individual.
Right? That's what they do. Being given choice, women choose extinction. And I did not get this idea from I've gotten this idea from both sexes. Both sexes have pretty much stated this.
Yeah, there's a very small subset of people out there who do genuinely believe that the human race would be better off being extinct, but they are certainly not the majority. And even the extremist, absolute nutjob feminists who want men to be reduced to 10% of the population are still not actually condoning the extinction of the species.
When, I believe it was Camille Paglia, who said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of, when women have absolute free choice, it's women who lose. Because women choose extinction.
And this is the danger of paraphrasing, because you miss out the entire context of that sentence, which changes the entirety of its meaning. Because the sentence that you have just quoted comes from a paper written by Camille Paglia called Rape and Modern Sex War. And the entirety of the paragraph reads as follows. The date rape controversy shows feminism hitting the wall of its own broken promises. The women of my 60s generation were the first respectable girls in history to swear like sailors, get drunk, stay out all night, in short, to act like men. We sought total sexual freedom and equality, but as time passed, we woke up to cold reality. The double standard protected women. When anything goes, it's women who lose. So this quote is actually given in the context of a date rape scenario. The point being that if a woman and a man go out unchaperoned and have sex, that it becomes increasingly difficult to differentiate between consensual sex and rape, because obviously there are only two parties and no third independent witness to the entirety of the event. And that this is why, in recent times, accusations of rape are massively increasing. It has nothing to do with women choosing extinction.
Women are sick. Women do not understand what it is to be a human. They can act like it, but they can only act like it from men.
Sorry, there was that visual bug happening again. I don't know why that keeps happening. Anyway, do please keep going.
They speak man's language.
Lol, no. Language is an ever-shifting and evolving means of communication. It was not invented by a man, it was invented by our species. And you can tell this by the fact that different places have different languages.
They understand man's logic.
Which is more than you can do, apparently.
They can understand those things, but they cannot be those things.
What? You can't be a language or logic. I'm not sure you actually understand the difference between a physical being and an abstract idea, which might actually explain rather a large amount of this video.
Because she questioned as to whether or not I meant just feminists learning to be human or women being human. No, I meant what I said. Women need to learn to be human. If they can be human, I'm not sure. It's certainly true that they can act like humans, and that they can certainly be pretty decent actors. No doubt. But being human, I do not think they could possibly do this.
Oh god, sorry, I don't know what the hell happened when I downloaded this video. I swear I fixed it this time. Let's keep going and hope it doesn't happen again.
And she also paraded around her support of men with these issues and protested against things like rape culture and so on, things like that. That's great. That's fucking great. Thank you, female, for bothering to do that. You know what would be great, though? If you could actually, I don't know, fucking smack your sisters across the face.
The word misogynist is thrown around a lot these days.
Really? If you could even call them your sisters. Because, frankly, I don't understand their logic here. So here we have a few select women who go ahead and proclaim, I'm helping men, I'm with you, I'm on your side. You don't need to feel this way about women. Okay, you're on our side. That's great. Do you make YouTube videos? And I'm well aware that there are women making YouTube videos.
So that question was a bit redundant then, wasn't it?
Are you protesting in the streets?
Are you?
Are you becoming a senator to represent us? Are you becoming a voter who represents us?
Well, you can't really vote to represent someone else. That's not how the democratic process works, unless you're voting by proxy on behalf of someone else. When you vote, you are voting for the candidate who you believe best reflects your own opinions. Your vote is therefore entirely selfish and is not meant to represent anyone else.
Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything?
Well, engaging with the community is doing something, so yes, they are.
Besides saying that you support us. Saying you support us is not supporting us.
Well, actually, it is. Knowing that other people support your view can in some cases be the catalyst effect that leads others to take action. For example, even in your own YouTube videos, you continue doing them because you know that people support your opinion. If you had been doing this for years and you still had 0 subscribers and 0 views, then you'd probably stop doing it. So people just supporting you, even if they are not active within the community that you are working in, still benefits you.
It's not being us.
Yeah, again, you can't be something other than yourself. I'm really starting to question your grip on reality.
It's maybe understanding what we're saying. That's maybe what it is. But it sure as straight fuck is not helping our situation. Nor is it helping your situation, by the way, to proclaim that you support us. That's great. That's fantastic. That doesn't help you. That doesn't mean we're about to fuck you now.
People can support your cause without wanting to have sex with you. Just saying.
So unless women can prove to me that they can be human without the influence of men, which clearly they haven't proved,
well, you still haven't actually provided your definition or framework for what you would consider a human to be, so it's kind of difficult. Conversely, I would actually like you to find me an example of a man who has become a human And I'm not going to give you any definition of what I consider to be human there, just to make your life even harder. I would like you to find me an example of a man who is human without the influence of a woman. It's pretty much impossible because we are the same species, we share the same environment, and we work symbiotically together with each other.
Then I stand by my statement that women need to learn how to be human, if they can. Which I don't think they can. I think they can act. If at the very least women should act like humans again. That was great when we had society before them. That was great when we had society where women acted like humans. That'd be great.
Hang on, so women acted human before? Well, before what? I think you have a very strange and slightly warped notion of how men and women have acted throughout history. Because throughout most of history, men and women have more or less worked, maybe if not directly side by side with each other, they have still worked to support each other throughout history. Yes, there have been very specific times in very specific places where the gender roles have been very segregated from each other, but even in those times and places, it was still not exactly the common. So I am making a little bit of an assumption that you are talking about the sort of Downton Abbey-style male-female relationship. Very prim, proper ladies, and handsome, polite gentlemen, while ignoring the fact that the majority of people who would be living and working on estates like that would be men and women of the working classes, doing all the manual labour such as the cooking, the cleaning, the gardening. Did those women act like humans because they had difficult manual tasks to do, just like their menfolk? Or are you only referring to the women who were effectively the ladies of the house as being the humans? The women who would, in fact, quite frequently be found to be doing things such as book balancing and the banking of the household.
Although, even if we went back to that, I'm not so sure that MGTOW like me would necessarily go back to being your slaves, your protectors and providers that we have for thousands of years.
Well, if you don't want to go back to a traditionalized society, maybe you should be advocating for a different way forward. Although implying that throughout history all men have in some way been some sort of subservient slave to women is just as ridiculous as when feminists assert that all women were somehow subservient or slaves to men. It just didn't happen like that. There have always been times when gender roles have either been more strict or more relaxed, and when those gender roles have entailed different activities. It has never been some sort of static, rigid box. Sure, there are generalized traits that play very much into the biology of our species, but there have always been different cultural aspects to those gender roles as well. And this big mixing pot of factors is why you can never make such a generalized assumption that men or women have always been subservient to either men or women. A far more accurate generalization throughout human history would be to say that the poor have always been subservient to the rich, but even that isn't entirely accurate.
It's great that she commented and replied, because I really wish women did more of that. I do. And it's not because it helps us necessarily, but it allows us to look at the female way of thinking, or the lack of thinking.
Just because someone doesn't think like you, that doesn't mean that they're not thinking. If someone is being open to dialogue with you, it might be a better idea to engage with them rather than to simply hand-wave them away and call them subhuman scum.
And correct me if I'm wrong on anything I say, please. Brothers, please do. Please do.
I already did, and I'm not your brother, buddy.
But I don't think I'm wrong. If I thought I was wrong, I would not be saying what I'm saying. And I'm not the only one who says these things. Women say it and men say it.
And I chalk a lot of that up to general ignorance of history, and then I put the rest of that up to some sort of hurt that you have received in your life. Because clearly you have some sort of general mistrust or dislike of women as a whole, and there must be some sort of reason for that. It is an entirely understandable reaction to have, but you also need to realize that distrusting an entire gender is not healthy for you.
So, I mean, if both parties fucking agree, then, I mean, that's really all there is.
But both parties don't agree, and you actually have no evidence for any of your assertions.
So, no, I don't think women can be human. I don't. Unless you can prove to me that they can of their own volition and understanding and not leeching off of male understanding. If you can prove to me that from their own understanding and volition that they can be human, I simply don't agree with that statement that they can be human.
and you still have yet to provide any of your objective criteria for what you consider a human being to be. However, from the overall direction of this video, I am rapidly coming to the conclusion that your criteria for what makes a human being is they have a penis. Oh, no, wait, you do actually confirm that a little bit later in the video.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't be a human if you can't be a man.
Now, detractors of mine do like to call me a misogynist. Boy, I wonder what they'd make of this guy.
If you can't stand on your own legs, because that's what MGTOW is. We stand on our own legs. We don't need women. We never have needed women.
Your 5-year-old self with a skinned knee would beg to differ.
And we don't need them now.
You know, I'm actually starting to get kind of annoyed with this MGTOW pissing contest. It just seems to have descended into a competition of who's more red pill than who. Seriously, it just seems to never end. It starts with a guy saying, well, I was married once, I got divorced, lost my house, car, kids, and half of my stuff. I'm not going to be able to trust women again because of that. And then the next guy comes along and says, well, I've never been married because I don't want to lose all of my stuff. I'll never trust women. And then the next guy comes along and says, well, I'm so red-pilled I've never even been in a relationship with a woman because you can't trust them. And then the next guy comes along and says, well, I'm so red-pill MGTOW that I've never even had a conversation with a woman so that they can't manipulate me. And then the next guy comes along and says, not only have I never had a relationship with a woman or even talked to a woman, but I've given up my job so that my paycheck and taxes doesn't go to supporting a gynocentric society because I am just that red pill MGTOW. And then the next guy comes along and says, not only have I never had a relationship with a woman, never even spoken to a woman, and given up my job so that my taxes don't go towards supporting a gynocentric society, but I also live off the grid so that I am in no way perpetuating a gynocentric society. And then the last guy comes along and says, not only have I never had a relationship with a woman, never even spoken to a woman, I've never had a job within society, and I have been living in the wild for the entirety of my life, and the only reason that I'm posting on your MGTOW forum is because I happened to spy it through the window of an internet cafe while I was coming into town to steal some shoes out of a dumpster. And that is how you red pill MGTOW, you fucking scrubs.